We're going to start off tonight with prayer and pledge. Prayer is going to be led by one of the council members. We'll try any bench tonight. Me? Mayor Pro Tem bench. And the pledge will be led by Councilwoman Sylvia, please.
All right, please bow your heads if you so choose to join in. All gratitude for the opportunity here today to serve this wonderful city. We ask for guidance and wisdom in the decisions we're making. We ask that you keep our city whole and safe and get everyone through the holidays. Bless and protect our staff and our council, our citizens, and amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First of all, I'd like to say good evening to everyone here. This is a single subject meeting, and we will stick to what we have to stick to. I also need to do some housekeeping. Everybody, please silence their phone, council persons, as well as the audience. This is a public meeting, and so I'm asking people to refrain from clapping, booing, and all unnecessary, obnoxious behavior. Not only the audience, I'm asking for the same respect from the table. A reminder again, please silence all cell phones and mobile devices. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to point out that tonight's single subject is for ARPA funds for public health. That is the subject. Mayor, we will go to public input. Oh, Mayor, if you'd like, I'd like to take roll call.
And I was going to say, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
I apologize for
No.
the oversight. Councilmember Sylvia.
Present.
Councilmember Williams.
present.
Councilmember Balls.
Present.
Councilmember Bench.
Present.
Councilmember Scherzer is absent. Councilmember Garcia.
Present.
Councilmember Flores.
Present.
Councilmember Copeland.
Present.
Mayor Moore.
Present.
We have 8 members present, 1 absent. Now, Mayor, we are at public input.
Okay. The purpose of the public input is to hear from the public to address the council. You are to inform us who you are when you're called to the podium, and you are to respond, you are to you need to get everything you need to have said within a 3-minute period. Speakers are limited only to this. So please get your points in when you begin to speak. Remember, we need to remain courteous and respectful to the members of the public and to those who are watching on SGTV and in the council chambers. So in order for us to give consideration for what you're speaking about, please make your point known. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Our first speaker is Carly Hammond.
Hello, good evening. Thank you so much. My name is Carly Hammond. I live on 107 Washington in the city of Saginaw. I am here to talk today about the ARPA allocation in public health. I think public health is a really great topic to be talking about and using ARPA funds. There's so many opportunities to be able to use this money. One of the things I wanted to specifically address, though, was this talk about a mystery medical facility, perhaps $5 million for site development thing that may be talked about today, which has been kind of steeped in some mystery, and there's just been some articles written about it, but I haven't seen a lot of this plan, so I can't really comment to the spirit of that plan, and I'm really excited that there's opportunity for development for the city of Saginaw. But there is a organizer phrase that I've been using for a very long time, which is that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And my concern is that when there are plans being made and development plans happening, the community of Saginaw and the community should be centered in those conversations and brought in early because they know best about how to spend funds in their area, how best to develop their area, how best to have a neighborhood character and make sure that businesses aren't just coming in and out from I-675, taking tax money and leaving, but actually building community-based initiatives for our community, for our citizens, for our residents that are lasting, that are long-term growth opportunities, not just based off of somebody's internal plan of tax increment financing that they think they're going to get back later, but of how all residents are going to benefit. And I think that planning needs to include and be an open process, not behind lawsuits or NDAs or anything of that sort. But I think that the more open that development process can be, especially when talking about public dollars, the more good that comes out of it. And the last point that I want to make is that ARPA funds, Saginaw received, I believe, the second highest per capita allotment of all cities in the state of Michigan because it's based on the community block development grant model, which basically says that communities that are at higher economic disadvantage, communities that are poor get more money. And the spirit of ARPA was to spend that money to alleviate those long-standing, long-term economic disadvantages in an area and provide and create opportunity. And I think we need to ask ourselves when we're looking at solutions for this money, are they impactful? Are they transformational? And do they address the root causes and the real needs of the community of Saginaw? And again, for the reasoning why we have so much available funds to be able to spend, are we keeping those QCT residents, qualified census tracts residents, those residents at the center of our thoughts and our ideas and our planning? Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sam Shaheen.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
I'm Dr. Sam Shaheen. I reside in Saginaw Township, but I have two offices on Washington Avenue here in the city. I'm here to talk a little bit about the opportunity for redeveloping downtown Saginaw. As all of you know, in the late 90s, we began a process of reinvestment in the city that was really unparalleled as to previous attempts at revitalization. Much of that was stemmed around the medical corridor, and we created what we conceptualized as the medical diamond, and that used our biggest employers of Ascension St. Mary's and Covenant Healthcare as the two anchors on the east and west sides of the river, and then to the north, the event center, which obviously has been successfully rejuvenated and reinvigorated, and to the south, all of Old Town and the Children's Zoo, which has gone through a transformation and obviously is millage supported. In the middle of all that, we have a river corridor that should be looked at favorably with respect to the opportunity for redevelopment in town. The sole purpose of me being here tonight is to talk a little bit about what this project on the river could actually turn out to be, which is a reinvestment in public health in the form of behavioral health, but also in the form of education. And those two items are a part and a component of what's been reinvigorating Saginaw to this point and to this date. There are some things that can't be discussed openly at this point due to some NDAs that are in place. However, I can assure you that this is for the public good and is a public project. It isn't done by a developer. This is a public project that is in the best interest of this community and truly can be transformational. I would share with you one example, and again, we've been working on this for 24 years. A project in Bay City, Michigan, which was an investment by the community of Bay City, invested approximately $20 million to create a site ready for development in Bay City. I think many of you will admit today that that investment has had a significant return on investment for the city of Bay City and has been transformational for Bay City, bringing hundreds of residents, hundreds of workers to the site, and several new restaurants and destinations that are bringing people from all of the counties and throughout northeastern Michigan. So that community spent the money to invest and reinvest to create a transformational project. That project is now one of the largest tax-paying entities in downtown Bay City. We have the opportunity, a once-in-a-generation opportunity, to do something transformational, and I would ask that you put Saginaw first and make the proper investment to springboard our community to bring jobs and revitalization as well as access for the most underserved. And like Carly said, there's lots of people in our zip code. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tom Miller.
Good evening, Council. Tom Miller, Vice President, Saginaw Future. The strength of our medical community is perhaps the single biggest driver of economic output in the city of Saginaw. Ascension St. Mary's and Covenant Healthcare draw patients from upwards of 1/3 of northern Lower Michigan. The Alida E. Lutz VA Medical Center is one of only a handful of hospitals in Michigan dedicated to serving our veterans. Great Lakes Bay Health Centers just cut a ribbon on the state-of-the-art facility to help serve our at-risk population. The Saginaw County Health Department is the first point of contact for many in our community, and mobile medical response transports patients throughout the region and beyond. Together, our partners provide nearly 1,000 hospital beds, bringing together world-class physicians and state-of-the-art technology and facilities, all located here in the city of Saginaw. Saginaw Future has been working for decades with these organizations and many others, including the Chamber of Commerce, to leverage our medical assets to the maximum economic and community benefit. The U.S. Treasury guidelines list 4 principal tenets for use of the ARPA funds: replace lost revenue, premium pay to essential workers, invest in public infrastructure, and respond to the far-reaching public health and negative economic impact of the pandemic by supporting health of the community. The City of Saginaw Behavioral Health Clinic is proposed in coordination with the already approved $5 million appropriation from Saginaw County's ARPA fund dollars. Occupying nearly 25,000 square feet of the Behavioral Health Clinic building, the project will provide outpatient behavioral health services to the very most in need of our population. Mental health has become a national healthcare crisis in the wake of the pandemic. This project will be the single most important integrative behavioral health center north of Flint and will help to address healthcare inequities to Saginaw's underserved population. This will continue to cement the city of Saginaw as the economic hub for medical care and services in northern Lower Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bill Alstash.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, and the City Manager.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here for public health tonight. I'm here to advocate for the behavioral mental health clinic being proposed with the Saginaw's ARPA funds and give a little bit different perspective from my view on it. From the Council's strategic planning session in 2021, health was one of the 5 initiatives agreed upon by the Council to spend ARPA funding. On February 7th of 2022, Council created the ARPA Commission. The charge was for community outreach regarding how funds should be spent and to report back to the council their proposals. I remember hearing the outreach was extensive. Over 80+ meetings were held with the community. The commission reported back to the council in August of 2022. One of the 9 commission proposals was for the Saginaw Behavioral Mental Health Clinic and to allocate $5 million to it. The commission's support for the project was unanimous. This project is important for Saginaw. The project can spur other economic development because we would be adding attraction to our city, as well as the demand for goods and services for those working at or visiting the clinic and shopping downtown. Think of General Motors and the feeder companies we had supporting the manufacturing boom in years past. Another bonus of the clinic is another staple for downtown moving us forward. This will spur attention to develop the Genesee Corridor. We will see new commercial, retail space, urban living due to incremental development, 2- and 3-story structures. Imagine new shops, office space, residents, and maybe just some really cool places to hang out. Our manager recently filled a role within the city, and this person is now working with our urban planner, focusing on placemaking, and that's what I just spoke about. To close, I refer to Jane Jacobs. I have mentioned her many times in the past, including from the council table. If you are not familiar with her, please watch the movie Citizen Jane. She advocated for mixed-use urban development. She also stated a city cannot be a donut, referring there cannot be a hole in the middle. Ours does, due to urban renewal and lost buildings over the years. Cities develop from the inside out, not the outside in. This is another opportunity for us to do just that. I urge you to allocate these funds needed for this clinic. I thank you and have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Our final speaker today is Melvin McDowell.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So again, my name is Melvin McDowell. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, counselor, and therapist here in Saginaw. I'm also a college professor at Saginaw Valley State University. I am also here to talk about ARPA funds as it relates to behavioral health. So we wrote a proposal and we entitled it Strengthening the Helpers While Empowering the Community. It's a training, medical, and mental health initiative and collaborative. You know, we all know that the challenges brought forth by COVID-19 have been worsened. And so things such as increased need for mental health support due to grief, loss, depression, anxiety, those things are at the forefront. Mental health therapists have not had the proper support and training. And we've definitely seen an uptick in domestic violence and an increase of self-harm behaviors and things of that nature. One of the other things that's really hit us really hard is there's an increased wait time to obtain mental health and psychiatric services, sometimes 30, 60, and even 90 days, and 120 even. So our proposed activities, we broke it down into 3 different categories: training and certifications for therapists. There's a collaboration between 5 outpatient private practice clinics, and we recognized our needs from our therapists. And so we're looking for help with training in things such as couples work, trauma-focused therapy, play therapy, grief and loss, and things of that nature. The second item is hiring a psychiatrist, physician, and a nurse practitioner who's dually certified. And primary care as well as psychiatric mental health. This will allow McDowell Healing Arts Center to be a total health home for Saginaw residents. We have letters of support from both from the social work and the nursing department at SVSU. They will partner with us to house also master level social workers and interns in terms of nursing. Nursing students, again, this will allow us to serve so many more people, housing those interns as well, and then hiring community triage workers. These workers will be housed in any of our collaborative partners clinics, and they will do crisis intervention work as well as be trained in mental health first aid. The mental health first aid training will allow them to be able to go into schools and places of worship, fraternities and sororities and other establishments to team up with them and to be able to teach mental health first aid to the average layperson, so that we can help drive our folks to the much needed care. The proposed impact, psychotherapists will be able to provide the training. With the training, the psychotherapists will be able to provide the much needed impact to their clients. Clients will receive competent services. Clients can come to one place for their primary and mental health care services. So therefore, there's less gaps in services. McDowell Healing Arts Center will be an additional clinic in Saginaw where psychiatric services are offered. So there's reduced wait times for clients needing psychiatric medications. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mayor, we are now at remarks of council.
Tonight, we will begin with Councilwoman Sylvia.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I'd like to thank all of the persons that came up and addressed council to give us more information. So glad that the other people came to come and listen, the residents and people that have a vested interest in regards to this single subject matter. At this time, that's about all I'm going to say. I'm actually kind of thinking a couple different ways in regards to these ARPA dollars. I don't want to forget the entities that are already serving the city of Saginaw. So thank you very much, and you all have a great rest of the day.
Next, we have Councilperson Williams.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say thank you for everyone that stepped forward to speak. And at this time, that's all that I have right now.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilman Balls.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the citizens for coming out this evening. We all know that the subject that we're talking about today is much needed here in the city of Saginaw. We know that we need to help out our citizens as much as possible because this COVID had took a toll on our community. You see what's happening in the newspapers and the news today. People just losing their minds and stuff, man, and it's just a terrible situation. I would like for us as a committee to look at all the proposals from the existing places that's doing mental health therapy today and no one is gonna argue with Dr. Shaheen and what he has done in the, Tri-City area is investing in our city. We thank you very much, Dr. Shaheen, for all the work that you've been doing in the city of Saginaw. You know, it'd be a great idea to do what he wanna do. I was hoping that maybe we could, see if we can do take some of the ARPA monies that we gave the city and some of the ARPA dollars that the committee got to give out. Maybe we can do a dual thing where we can give a certain amount of money to the Shaheen project. And most of all, I think we need to try to support the mental health services that we already have in the city of Saginaw. I know Guidance Grace is one that has put in a proposal. So I think that we all need to take a look at all the proposals before we push that money out there to make sure that we give it to everybody that needs it. Because we already have citizens that really need the help. And by the time his facility get built, who knows what's gonna happen to the rest of the citizens in the city of Saginaw. So I'm all for helping out the people in the city of Saginaw with these ARPA dollars because it's their tax money and they need to go back to the citizens of Saginaw. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilwoman Garcia.
Good evening. Thanks for all the speakers that came out and the concerned citizens of the community. I'm just learning everything, taking it in, past prior work. I've been in social work, so I understand the need for the behavior health. There definitely is a need, and it's interesting to hear everybody's background story and what they want to use the dollars for. So I'm excited to review and look more into it and see what we can help. And exactly, I think the money should stay here and be from the citizens. Why outsource when the dollars need to be here in the community with us? So thank you for your time, and I appreciate everybody taking their time to help me get through this one time. Council?
Thanks.
That's
You
it.
good?
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. I'm good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. I'm done.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilman Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. I had mentioned in the last meeting that it was the class of 250-something people that were in line for the ARPA funds. So welcome to the class of 260. I know Mr. Miller and Ms. Hammond had been there before, but Mr. Shaheen, it's great to meet you and to hear about your proposal. I understand there are 179 proposals that were categorized under health for the ARPA funds. Like Mr. or Councilman Balls had said, a lot of those are already existing organizations in the city that had asked for this funds. I had gone over again and looked at the U.S. Department of Treasury funds and the need for the public health and economic impacts of COVID-19 according to the ARPA funds. And, you know, nonprofits, impacts on industry, small businesses, households, public health, and public sector capacity all have to do with that. We have a lot of people that need a lot of money. And so my philosophy is if you can get and garnish the money somewhere else or gather it, we got a lot of people in line. And then also with the behavioral health, this vision of the triangle, we have one gentleman that's still missing that has behavioral health issues. And if anybody, because we're on this single subject issue, if anybody does know where Mr. Crosby is at, please call Detective Jeb at 989-280-1550 or the Saginaw Police Department at 989-759-1289 or his mother at 906-5729. With this proposed facility, if we build it, they will come. And we do not, in my opinion, have the law enforcement capacity to have more Mr. Crosbys that we're looking for. We'll talk about that more with proposals that are going to be made on council, but we just have such a need already that I wouldn't think that this would be a good idea. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Next is Councilman Copeland.
Good evening. Thank you for your comments, and I'm looking forward to our discussion. Thank you.
Next, we have Mayor Pro Tem Bench.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Definitely appreciate hearing from everyone who signed up to speak publicly, and I think that'll be all for me tonight as well.
So it's up to me.
That's you.
I'd like to thank all our public speakers who came out to speak. And I'm not gonna take away from anybody. And I don't think anybody up here wants to take away from anybody. Everybody's not gonna be happy with the decisions that have to be made, but I'm into collaboration. And I think that whatever comes from this table, as long as we try to collaborate together, we can make it happen. Saginaw is poised for a comeback. And you know, for once in our life, we gotta take chances. I know that it's not what everybody wants to hear. I'm not taking away from any program already pre-existing. As a matter of fact, that's gonna be the next subject. Who's next? What group is next? How are we gonna do it? I think we need to hear the discussion and we need to talk about it. I always hear people say, we do stuff in closed doors. No. We are just as transparent as possible. Now, some of us may have our own hidden agendas, but I don't have a hidden agenda. So I'm willing to listen to everybody and anybody. If your plan is good, I'm only one vote. Keep that in mind. I'm only one vote. I've got to get 4 other votes to go along with me if I believe that you're strong. So tonight is the deliberation on a single subject. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. We are now at miscellaneous motions.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to allocate $5 million of ARPA funds to assist with funding a behavioral health clinic to be located in the city of Saginaw in cooperation with the Saginaw County Health Department.
Do we get a second?
Second.
Did I hear somebody say it? It's ready. It was moved and second by Councilman Williams. Now we're into discussion.
Again,
And council persons, let me acknowledge you so that I know, so that we're not going all over each other, please. Yes, Councilman Flores.
thank you, Mayor. Again, like I stated in the opening comments, I believe that this is an astronomical amount of money that has to be proposed and spent on this one project. We are already pretty tight in terms of millions of dollars that we have been spending to individuals. It is not my philosophy to give millions of dollars to millionaires. I believe that we have too many people that are already in need, that have solid plans, that have worked with the city, that have been in line before, to be able to help our city just as much as this proposed venture. It's not just cool things that are going to be coming to Saginaw. There are going to be people that have serious behavioral issues that were already strapped with a police department. One of the things on my list is $40,000 for PPE. So the idea that we can give $5 million away to one entity is just not realistic in what we are trying to do here with the funds. That's all I have.
Thank you. On this end. Councilwoman Sylvia.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I would have to concur in part with Councilman Flores, but my thing is that we have so many proposals in regards to health, behavioral health, mental health, and it would, in my opinion, behoove us to look at these different entities, because many entities have suffered during the pandemic, and ARPA funds are actually American Rescue. We need to make sure that we don't leave behind the entities and the behavioral health entities that are already doing work, are already seeing, and I know for myself, as well as I'm sure a lot of the council and also our people, citizens, a lot of people have suffered. A lot of people have committed suicide during the pandemic. We didn't know whether we was gonna live or die. And it's probably not many people in here that have not already sought out mental health because of issues of the pandemic. And I think we need to sit at the table and converse and see how the entities that are already doing the work can continue to do the work. Because you have to remember that those entities, I'm sure their clients probably increased over half. So I just can't see myself either voting $5 million to one entity and not even considering the entities that are already here, already doing the work in the city. So that's all I have right now. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, Councilman Copeland.
Thank you. For me, I think this is hearing the conversation, having conversation with some of the community facilities and hearing what this mental health facility could bring. That is a service that, so prime example, we have men here in our community who may need mental health support, and certain establishments have stopped accepting them. And hearing of this project, this is an opportunity that men in our community will be able to get that support. Me personally, because I don't have all of my questions answered, I cannot fully approve $5 million when there was also a couple of million provided to the city of Saginaw to do some work in that area. So if we were to decrease the number, I would be in support. But we've technically, as a city, have already started to support this. And Manager Morales, correct me, we received $3 million to do, what was the power lines or something down there in that neighborhood, in that area?
Yeah, that was for power lines for development of the entire area. This project, if you looked at the application, is specifically for the clinic itself.
So the $3 million that we're investing right now in that project, would it entail still support this particular project? Would it take away some possible costs from this project that they would have to, if we didn't have this $3 million, they would still have to use some of those funds to do this work?
Yeah, this is two different things, because we'll have the $3 million coming, and I'm not sure if it has final approval, but that is for site preparation. So this particular project that was input was for construction of a health building. So it's a $15 million building, and Saginaw County has committed $5 million of their ARPA money to be used in the city for this building. So, yeah, the $3 million impacts it, but it's not used for the specific project.
Nope, I'm looking at the city of Saginaw's impact in this particular project. So it's looking like we're already having an impact for this possible project, which is why for $5 million, I couldn't. Especially knowing that we have not recommended anything for businesses or anything like that. So one, this is a great opportunity, especially knowing the development that could go into downtown. I know all of that and I support that. It's just for right now, there's some answers that I would feel more comfortable saying yes to, but for the time being, I would support a decrease in number until my answers are fully.
Let me clarify the $3 million. That's not coming from the city. That's directly from the federal government for that specific project. So we have no impact on the allocation of those dollars.
But it's coming to the city, right? It's not going to the county.
Passed through from the city, but it can only be used for that specific power line utility work.
In the city?
Yes.
All right, so that city, for me, the way I look at that is, even though the money came from the feds, the city, we are still making an impact in this project. Whether, because it didn't go to the county, it came straight to the city because of the need in the city of Saginaw. So for that reason, I do support this project. I cannot support that amount. But until I have some additional questions answered, I hear everything that has been said. I know the impact that this can have, especially the need in this community. But as of now, we haven't even put any money out for programming for some of our local communities who've been waiting for a year and a half. We have to, if we were to do that before doing this $5 million, that would be easier to have a conversation if we were able to do that. But right now, putting $5 million aside after we haven't even talked about the proposals from citizens that have been waiting for over a year, I can't even do that comfortably. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Councilman Balls, I'm sorry.
I got a question for the city manager. Half of the money we gave to the city for the ARPA dollars, and the other half going to the council to distribute. Can we take part of that money that we already gave the city to put with that project?
The money can come from either source, but I will remind council that we do need to do HVAC work for this building, and that is an ARPA eligible project, and it's also public health, but from either source, we'll need funding for that too. But yeah, you can pull dollars from revenue loss or regular ARPA, I think, for this project.
I think it'd be a good idea we would consider maybe taking part of the money out of the money that's already been given to the city to put into this project is going to help build up the city. We know it's going to be a beautiful project for the city. And then take some of the money that we got that the city council can put in for there, and then we would combine those two to make sure this project can help get done for the cities, for the citizens of the city of Saginaw. And one thing we got to remember, and the guy spoke about it last week, about fixing kids when they're young instead of trying to fix them when they get older. Now, we know for a fact that community centers have a large impact on kids when they're growing up. For the last time we had a community center open up in the city of Saginaw, we can see the effects of them not being opened up the way that our children are acting here in the city of Saginaw. We know that we need to put some money to these community centers so we can raise them while they're younger.
We have to stay on topic.
I'm on topic.
We're not talking about community centers,
Okay,
though.
what I'm saying is,
Put it back to
I'm
public
talking
health.
about mental health.
Okay, that's what you need to say, then, not community centers.
Y'all know where kids get help at, okay? We can try to fix them when they get to be older at a mental health facility, and it's gonna cost us a whole lot of money after all the problems are being created. So we got to put money where we know we need to put it at. So I would be more than happy to support a part where we take so much from the city money and the other money that we take, that we have control over, to put into that particular project. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Yes, Councilwoman,
If you
Mayor
had
Pro
something
Tem.
first, that's fine. I would just add that I understand that it's a large amount of money, certainly. And I think initially, when I heard about the proposal, I was inclined to go for less than the $5 million as well. However, from firsthand experience, and I think we've all seen it, we know that we have many people in the community who are not getting their medical needs treated, whether they are mental health, whether they are physical health. We also know that even with an infusion of funding, I think for a lot of the local folks, we still have an issue where we are not able to treat all of the people who need services. So I think a project like this not only would, act as an economic catalyst for us, but it certainly wouldn't be in competition with people who are already in existence, simply because there are so many people who need treatment. And I understand, I am all for mental health, and good mental health can be achieved in many ways, whether it's meditating, whether it's through youth centers, whatever. But our children need access to therapy. Our children need access to mental health professionals who know what they're doing. All our adults need this as well. And I would caution our colleagues to not dance up to that line of where we're demonizing people with mental health issues, or making them out to sound like they're a public safety threat, because that's not the case. We need to focus on taking care of people whole cloth, and that means a family approach, and that means family therapy for a lot of these folks out there who are struggling and have had that exacerbated by the pandemic. So I am in support of the full $5 million. I certainly understand other people's reservations about that. I respect Councilman Ball's request, because if the funding can come from either source, great, let it. But I think that this is too valuable of an opportunity. I think there's too much need, and I think I have a very hard time accepting the argument that there's too much need, so we don't need more help. I think this is just one more avenue we can get people services that they already need and aren't able to get. So, thank you.
Okay, what I want to say is this. I am in support of the 5 million because when I look at the 5 invested, I'm looking at the big picture. It's gonna go a long ways. I am also in favor of the participants who put in dollars for mental health issues and health issues. When we met in September, or was it January, at our strategic plan, we talked about mental health. Mental health is on the high rise, and all of us know that. If the county, we talk about working with the county, we're working with the county. We're doing something as a joint venture. I'm in support of it, but I'm also in support of the colleagues who have mental health facilities now. It is not to knock anybody out. There is no big chief in Saginaw. All of us are equal. And if we can work together, I keep saying collaboration. We've got to figure out a way to where we can all work together. And we don't have to say this, that, and the other. So I just wanted to get my little 2 cents in before we made any decisions. And I think I was at Councilwoman Sylvia.
Thank you again, Mayor. First of all, well, second of all, I'd like to say I'm not opposing the project at all. I'm opposing the 5 million because the way it sounds and the way it's been presented is those 5 million for health would go to this particular project, and then the other entities that deal with mental health or behavioral health get zero. That's the way that's the way it looks like. So it would, in my opinion, it needs to be discussed more. It needs to be moved around. I can concur with Councilman Ball's as he asked the city manager if dollars can be taken from the 26 something million set aside in regards to the city. I'd be on board for that. People are having mental health issues and crises today, not after the facility is built. Yes, it's going to help. I know it's going to help. I've worked with youth for many, many years. Over 20 years, I know the urgency, and I can visualize the project. But that I don't have my head in the sand to say that our youth, our adults don't need help yesterday, today, tomorrow. So I think we have to look at it like, okay, let's help what's going on now, and let's also help and build our future. We can do more than one. Thank you.
I don't think that the topic is us just doing one, period. Because we have not yet, as a body, some of you were assigned some tasks. And when I asked you, you said you were okay with it. The only person that didn't get an assignment was Ms. Garcia. Everybody had a bucket to work from. So I don't want to get into that. Hold on 1 minute. Councilman Boss, was it anybody on this end?
You can go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick response. I'm not, to Mayor Pro Temp especially, I'm not demonizing anybody. The success rate for behavioral health individuals ranges from 12% to 75%. But we're looking at additional people. It's not just a city spot. It's going to be regional, correct? So we're getting people in from Midland or Bay City or Freeland or Stanford. That's not specific to the city. So again, when you're having an institute this size and we have an influx of people, and this comes from personal experience. I had gone to a treatment center in Ann Arbor, Michigan called Dawn Farms. There are a number of us that just went back out into the streets of Ann Arbor. Sorry, city manager, and just ran havoc. And luckily, they had a great police force to be able to take care of us. But that is something that needs to be considered. I'm hoping that is to be considered. So again, I wouldn't be the last person to demonize anybody with a behavioral health issue, but these are realities that we need to look at. And then again, with 178 people that had applications with health, including Mr. Miller, we need to look at how we can strengthen the organizations that we have currently running, because the reason they stop taking people is because they don't have any money. And again, with the language that has come out from the Treasury Department, this is for that. This is to expand the current operations that they have. So we need to kind of weigh that all in. I'm all for if we want to use lost revenue to do this. I'm happy to do that any day of the week. That's all I have.
Councilman Ball.
Yes, I would like to make an amendment to the motion to take $2.5 million that the city council can allocate and take another $2.5 million from the monies that we gave the city so far.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any questions? I'd like to ask for Guy House to come to, or do I need that? Am I out of order?
If you have a question for, I'm sorry, is there a second? There's a second?
Yes, there
Yeah, we
was.
got a
Okay.
second.
Yeah, if you want to see your question and see if we need them to come up.
Mr. David, can you please come to the mic? My question is, can we do that? Can we take half and half?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm sorry, but he answered our question. He answered my question. And thank you so much. So now,
Madam Mayor, could I ask him another question? I'm so sorry. She wants to go.
okay, let me do this. Mr. David, can you come back up again, please?
I think she was. Were you all finished, Madam Mayor, with your question?
If I wasn't, you'd already jumped in.
The clerk was saying you weren't. Was there any response from the county about allocating additional funds or any overlap?
I don't know, you might have some more comment on this in terms of where the county was.
Yeah, I think the county's motion was for $5 million. It's a $15 million project. So, as far as information that I have so far, if it's a county health department building, I think they would be probably figuring out how to finance the rest of it, the last $5 million. I don't represent the county, so I can't tell you if they would proceed with the project, if they didn't get this money, or how they were gonna fund it, but I think that they would find a way to do that if we also allocate a similar amount. I don't know what their intent would be otherwise.
And just to be clear, I believe their $5 million was specifically for community health, and then this is for mental health, so kind of working in tandem under the same roof.
Mm-hmm.
Can you can you give me a little bit more on that one?
Yeah.
On what?
Just clarify that a little bit more for me.
Just that these funds are specifically earmarked for mental health under this, facility, and then theirs are specifically community health, which would be dealing with different health issues.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
So would an amendment help to just correlate with them?
That would, that's in the reporting part, so I don't know if there's any need here to do that.
Yes, staff would work
Yeah.
with the county on this project, because there's a lot more that would have to be involved in, that we would have to work through with them if we're building ownership and different things like that. And I would add that, I'm not, I know a few of you on council do work in mental health or work with mental health. I'm not a healthcare worker, but I do go to a lot of meetings with people like Dr. Shaheen and other health professionals. And Saginaw, the city of Saginaw specifically, and I think Saginaw County as a whole, is lacking in psychiatric treatment at a high level. So we're not talking just about therapists, we're talking about medical physicians, residents. And I think if you look at this proposal, the intent of that clinic is not just to provide that service, but also to help develop those professionals to be here in our community to treat people. And I don't disagree. I mean, there are a lot of social science theories about, drawing people to treatment centers or other types of services. But I think the need is clearly present within our own community, has shown that we need additional treatment physicians here already. We have, I know I've been in meetings where we have a lot of veterans in our community that can seek treatment at the Veterans Administration, but a number of those individuals get treatment, psychiatric treatment, via WebEx or Zoom because we do not have the professionals here that are necessary. And it's a difficult treatment process, I think, anyway, and doing that online, I think, is very difficult. So I think those are some positives if you look into this proposal that we did receive.
Anyone else?
Can I follow up quickly, though, on the first
Yes.
question you had asked me, about revenue replacement? I do want to be clear, you can do that, but my recommendation in how you do allocate these funds is that you don't limit them to revenue replacement in terms of the reporting requirements, because this is entirely eligible under public health, and there may be flexibility you want on another project around regulations. So that's just from a regulatory standpoint, doesn't change city money, committee money, however you want to look at that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Great.
Because what you really actually said is what we've been saying for the longest. Although the city took a portion, it doesn't matter. If it falls under something that can go under the money that we asked for the city is more than willing to put it over there and work on it. That would allow the community to have some more money to work in another way. Now, am I right or wrong?
You're correct.
You have $52 million at the end of the
We
day,
have
right?
$52 million. We're not separating
Yeah.
26 here, 26 there. We got 52 million.
Yeah.
And the only thing the city really wants, if everybody heard right, is the VAC system. And that is something that this building is in dire need of. We need to have clean air, like you're sitting here now. We need to have fresh air. We need to upgrade it so that we can.
Good.
So, yes.
A call for the question, please?
You want to call for the vote?
Yes, ma'am.
On the amendment.
He needs a second.
He
A
did.
second.
Oh, I did not hear you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I apologize.
Madam Clerk, let's do this. Can you say the vote, can you say the motion again, please?
The motion to amend is for 2.5 million to be split from the lost revenue portion and 2.5 million to be from the regular ARPA funding.
Well, are you first voting on calling the vote?
She wanted me to repeat the amendment motion
Right,
before we even take a vote on call the question.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, now. So our next
Okay,
step,
so we're gonna call the question, we're taking a vote on that, correct?
right. The call for the question, all those in favor, call for the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Now,
Now, the motion is to amend, just like I
motion
stated.
to amend the original motion. Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Bench.
Yes.
Councilmember Scherzer is absent. Councilmember Garcia.
Yes.
Councilmember Flores.
Nay.
Councilmember Copeland.
Yes.
Councilmember Sylvia.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Councilmember Balls.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
We have 7 yes and 1 nay and 1 absent. So your amendment is approved. Yes. To split the funding. So now you are back to your main motion to allocate the 5 million to the behavioral center, clinic, sorry.
Okay, now we're back to the original. I'm so confused.
As amended.
I'm so confused. So with that, we had a motion on the floor prior to our main motion was to approve the 5 million. We've called for the vote. All those in favor signify yes, sir.
I do want to, my biggest thing, and I think I've shared this with other people, after today, how do we share the benefits of this to our
Can
community?
you hold on?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hold on?
Oh, we're not in the oh, I
Can-
thought we were in
hold on.
discussion. Yes, ma'am.
If you hold on, you might get some answers
Oh, like today?
today.
Okay.
So there's a main motion on the floor. Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Scherzer is absent. Councilmember Garcia.
Aye.
Councilmember Flores.
Nay.
Councilmember Copeland.
Aye. Okay.
Councilmember Sylvia.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Councilmember Balls.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bench.
Yes.
And Mayor Moore.
Yes.
7 yes and 1 nay and 1 absent. Your motion is approved.
Now we're still at miscellaneous. Is there anything else that we need to talk about? Under miscellaneous, single subject.
I have another
Yes, I'm
motion.
sorry.
Okay.
Can we make a motion? Oh, did you see me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't know.
I gotta learn to lean back. I'm sorry.
Say their names so they know.
Okay.
Sorry.
I thought
Might be helpful.
I will say their names, but I
Yeah.
didn't see her down there.
Right,
So,
that's my bad.
Then they know who you.
okay. So, let me go to Councilwoman Sylvia.
Thank you so much. I'd like to make a motion to give $600,000 to the Melvin McDowell project for mental health. And I can do that at this point.
I'm sorry, what was the project?
To the Milton McDowell's program, she wanted to give
Right.
600,000.
I'm still not understanding you.
I'm making a recommendation to give X amount of dollars to another project.
Yeah, but the name of the project is
Oh,
what
I'm
I'm
sorry.
not getting. I'm
Oh.
not hearing it clear enough. I'm sorry.
The actual name, I'm sorry.
This one.
The one that was presented.
Strengthening,
Oh, thank you. Thank you, John.
I'm sorry. Strengthening the helpers while empowering the community.
How y'all make it?
I second that motion.
It's been moved in second. Open for discussion. Any discussion?
Yeah, I would like to, can we have him come back up here? So we can discuss this with him?
No, the motion's
No.
before you. If you have questions, go through the mayor,
I-
so that they can go through the manager.
I would just mention that for many of the, so this, the initial, first project that council just acted on, it was reviewed because it was part of the
Committees.
committee's work, so Guidehouse did review that, and the city staff did. The other projects that were submitted, we have not reviewed those for eligibility or if they were applied for on time or what they fall into. So I can't necessarily provide you specific information about the other submissions.
I see it. I see it. I got to look on the other end. Councilwoman Sylvia.
I don't understand that, because we've looked at, the committee has looked at, we put the recommendations, what people needed. I've read almost 400 proposals, and this is at the time, it's other things that have come across this table that we have voted on. I'm perplexed right now. if we don't go through with, I'm done.
Yes, Councilman Williams.
I just want to get some understanding. So this is basically a single project, and what I'm afraid of is if people can come in, they can make their proposal, and that will be the process that we start doing, where I'm talking about, because I don't know anything about this except for what I have in front of me right now tonight, and that's no offense to, Mr. McDowell, but I don't want to open the door for that to be the way we do this. That's all I have.
Madam.
Yes, Councilman Flores.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There is an existing application from Melvin McDowell Jr. in the information that we were given originally. And it's an existing program. They had gone through the portal. At the time, it was 8,390. I'm sorry, 800,390. Oh, what can I say that? 800,039. Anyways, you got it? Anybody got it? Anyways, it was there.
Okay.
839,000. Got it. And then, additionally, that was submitted in June 13th of 2022. And this was on my list as well of a different mental health facility. So this wasn't necessarily something that was sprung up on us. This is just a reiteration of the application that had come up during the summer.
Okay, just one moment, sir. Will you finish, Mr. Flores?
Yeah, I'm all set. Thank you.
And I'm not saying that it's here as a surprise to me. This is my first time. I did not review this, and I can say that honestly because I've been focusing on other proposals. But is this how we're going to do it, though? Because there are the number of proposals, and that means everybody can have the opportunity to come here. We make a motion, and I'm not understanding this. She brought the motion. She should explain.
We just did it.
Madam Mayor,
For a $5 million project.
go to someone that hasn't had a chance to speak yet. Everybody has to have an opportunity
Yes,
to
ma'am.
speak at least once before you have repeats.
Mayor Pro Tem Bench.
I want to say first and foremost, I don't want to say this at Mr. McDowell because I'm not saying this at him at all, but some of the rationales for not moving forward with the last $5 million that we just allocated was because there are so many projects and there are so many proposals to consider that we need to slow down and consider them. But now those same arguments are being flipped to move forward with $600,000 for one specific project that was not recommended to us by the committee. So I don't have any problem reviewing it, and I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn. Had I been called on first, I would have made a motion to direct staff to review all of the other projects. So this notion that we can only move forward with $5 million and to the exclusion of Mr. McDowell is not true, but we're offering him $600,000 with that motion, which is a little less than $4,000 more than what he asked for. And we haven't taken into consideration any of the other proposals that were submitted that we might want to weigh, because I did support the $5 million and I am fine with that vote. But I personally would like the opportunity to look at some of the other ones, some of our locally based, already in existence ones. And I would point out that the Saginaw County Health Department is already in existence as well. So I have a hesitation moving forward on this one in this fashion, let's put it that way. It's not anything against Mr. McDowell or his work. The work he's doing is very valuable, but I would say in this fashion, no.
Councilman Copeland.
Thank you, Mayor Moore. I'm thankful for all my colleagues and what they shared, because I do understand Councilman Williams, where you're coming from. I think the biggest thing for me is, I get that. So I would be in support of that, and I understand that. But in the back of my head, I said, then what are we going to do? Because we now have had a committee who no longer meets. It's been put on us, while we have a whole committee who said, given recommendations and went on there about their business. Right. When we need to bring this committee back to bring some matrix in. If we are going to go through this, whether it be city staff, whether it be this committee, it is not going to, you are a chief. You do not have the full time to put in like other people who volunteered to go through all of those 400 again when we have a committee that can do that. And so I understand, but if we do not go this route, we, manager, mayor, need to bring this committee back, so the next time we start having conversations, there's a metrics in place, they have already been evaluated, they've been scored, so when we want to start talking about projects, those scores have already been given to council, so when we are communicating, we're not looking like we haven't seen these before, because we have a matrix now, we know how they're scored, not ideas. I get what was presented to us, but at the same time, there's no clear matrix for how I need to evaluate this. I've never worked with grants before. So if we do go this route, and I'm thankful for this conversation, we need to somehow start bringing this committee back together, or if they can't do it, bring another committee, because we have to get some numbers in front of us now.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
if I
sir.
could, I don't know if the committee is the right group to do that, because if you look at their report, it did state that they didn't want to focus on
Right.
health or mental health, and the only project they reviewed is the one discussed earlier. But and I think you're on track, and I think it's to point to what some other council members have said about specific projects. I think that type of scoring is something that we could ask Guidehouse and our staff to assist with. So, yes, David, please.
Sorry, I have to defend the committee a little bit in our work, because they were reviewed, and we did assess this generally. We did not assess it in a super specific way, because there were 400, right? And then the things that got elevated got assessed and with more scrutiny as they moved through the process. This project that we have discussed has been assessed. It is, by our initial assessment, eligible. So I want to be clear that that work was done, and the committee did do that work, and it was reviewed. So I just really want to be clear about that they did do that work. Yep.
But I think one of the things council's asking for
Yep.
is that higher level of review. Is that correct, council?
And I think that's very.
That's what I am asking for, because I appreciate the work that you do, David, but we are the ones here on Monday who had residents who have waited for over a year, and they haven't received anything, and I can't clearly say, I can just say, you're not on the recommendation list, but don't give up yet. We've been doing that for too long now. So I need some solid numbers, so when someone says something, I have a matrix to say, it's not meeting this. So I feel comfortable in saying no. Right now, I don't feel adequately prepared to say no when I don't have some of that key information.
And can I just speak on matrices for a second here? Because I do think you are honing in now to a place where they do make sense. I do not believe professionally they made sense at that place we were, because how do you compare a community center to a mental health program to, an HVAC system to it, right? But if you're like, hey, we want to compare the mental health programs that are available, now we're talking about similar metrics that can be put next to each other. Okay?
Thank you.
Councilwoman.
Yep, absolutely.
Then this would be my question. If you looked at the proposals, and I know you did, I believe you did, and you looked at that one proposal and said, hey, let's give them $5 million. That was your recommendation.
I want to be very clear, not me.
No,
I made 0 recommendations.
Don't y'all beat him up, not him, but the group as a
I'm a
whole.
facilitator.
But also then that leaves me in a position to say, well, why recommend one over the other, I'm just giving an example, 100 other that may have been mental health. So why would we say, okay, let's give them $1 million and let these other entities just sit here and get whatever's left? So that just kind of, it seems like we just voted on a single item where we just opposing another single item. So
Can I, and I'm only going to speak to what was recommended by the committee and the reasoning behind the committee. And some of those things were actually echoed here. So the committee decided that there were a lot of other things that go into mental health. One of those was community centers, and hence there was a lot of investment put in community centers as an important part of a holistic approach to mental health. So the reason this was the one pulled out, and this is in the recommendation, is that it covered also a large economic development that the committee saw as a very important part to downtown Saginaw, and that because it was not just one thing, but it solved multiple challenges that the committee saw, that was the reason why it was elevated. whereas the other ones didn't seem to meet that metric. That's the logic or thinking of how they got to that place.
Councilman Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. Were you ever able to, or was the committee ever able to see Mr. McDowell's budget? It's incredibly specific.
Yeah, it would
compared
have
to the other
been
ones.
on the, we've got a separate file that has all of the attachments to be referenced for each of these files or proposals.
Okay.
One question.
I got it.
Okay, you got it. Councilman,
Go ahead, man.
Councilman Ball.
We was sent all the proposals. All these proposals, Mr. McDowell's and everybody else, we have been sent, and we have had the opportunity to look at them if we look for them. I think we're getting scared because of Mr. McDowell's project and the amount of money it is, but I personally don't see the length of time that he want to propose all this. And I know that Guided Grace do this type of work too. So I don't know, maybe we ought to bring in the other facilities that want to do something right now. If we can bring them in and look at their proposals, and we can all take a look at them, you know, at once, maybe that would be a thing to do for the city council. I don't want to bring back in that committee. They done their job, they out the way, let's leave them out the way. It's time for us to allocate these dollars.
Right.
You know, that's our charge, is to allocate these dollars. They gave us what they supposed to give us. We got all the proposals. Now let's act on them. Now, if we want to bring in all the other healthcare facilities and talk to them separately and see how we want to give them some of the money, then I'm all for that. But we got to get these dollars out of here. And the guy got a nice proposal here. I mean, he's been doing the work. We know the guy that Grace been doing the work. So we need to act as a city council. So if you want to wait and to get these guys in here, I'm all for that too, if you want to do that. So.
Councilmember Williams has been waiting.
Councilman,
I just want to be clear that we were here at 5:30 for a single item.
No.
Okay, and we voted and we made a decision on a single item. So I just want to be clear that we're not going to be in meetings making motions to give away money when we're actually here to address that single item. Because to me, it's no comparison between the 5 million and his 600,000. So that's why I asked what I asked, because if I can come in and my friends in the community, hey, can you make a motion for, me? I don't want to do that. And I'm not saying y'all friends, so I don't know that. But I just want to be clear that is why I questioned it, because we're here for a single item, and then a motion got thrown out to give out some more money, and I don't feel comfortable doing it that way.
It's a single
Councilman
subject.
Copeland.
So we
I
could,
get that, but I'm sorry.
okay, that's what I want. We could do as many motions as long as it's that subject.
I get that.
Okay, but the one thing I want to go back to is, we could talk about this committee, but the committee gave us what we did in September. Committee gave us what we did in September. We just waited around for proposals that citizens were submitting before we actually got the report. So whether we bring them back or not, the community's already upset. The community is already tired. The community is already hurt. So if we can somehow make sure that it's no longer back and forth saying, well, we'll give you this for this project, but it has to be for projects or it has to be for acquisition. I think for me personally, I need one voice, one message that we can go and say, this is what we are doing now. If you submitted a proposal a year ago, this is the next step. The citizens do not have that. We still have them coming to our meetings, sharing what they shared with us over a year ago. So at this point, we need solid directions to give to, and that's why I'm always asking, how are we going to communicate it with them? Because I feel bad talking to the community, asking me, so do you know when we're getting money? And I can't say yes. Why? There's no matrix. It's been recommended, but there's no real scoring. And I want to make sure that whatever our proposal pass, it's not just, this is my feeling. This has been a proper, reviewed, scored proposal. And when I say no, it is because of this score and not just because I don't think you can do it. So that's where I'm coming from. That's all I'm saying. If it's not the committee, then city staff, if you can, give us a matrix that when I see another committee, another citizen who said, I submitted that proposal a year ago, I can at least say, you know what, you scored this. And so right now, based on these things for ARPA, these are the things that we're looking for, and that is why. And if we do score that, send them a letter and let them know why. Don't have them waiting. Let them know that we finally scored it, and this is why you weren't approved or why it wasn't allocated.
Let me say this. I've heard all that the council has said. Now, let's go back. Everybody got to sign something, and they know what this something was.
Yep.
What did you do to move this forward? I'm not going to take all, the committee did exactly what we needed them to do to give us a jump start. And it was on the 9 of us to do our due diligence and put it where it needed to go. There was a group that was broke out. Everybody got an assignment, recreation, and I know it's a single subject, Madam Clerk, but I just need to get this out.
Oh, you're fine. Fine.
We always talk about passing the buck. Well, I think we passed the buck a little bit too, because everybody got an assignment. Some were assigned to recreation, some were assigned to retrain, rejob entry, health, housing, or was it neighborhood revitalization? The only person that's up here that was not assigned was Councilman Garcia. Councilwoman, I'm sorry. And so, I think that all of us as a whole, I hear what you're saying. Now what we gonna do? I've been saying that for 2 years. What we gonna do?
Is there any community?
Councilwoman Sylvia.
Okay. If it has to take the time, we have to take the time. So with that being said, and I've said this a few minutes ago, we've already done what you're saying let's not do now. We've given money to, just for example, the fairground. That was a single, right, we need to come together and figure out how we're gonna do it. Because it's been proposals made from the table before my proposal was made a few minutes ago. And we voted on those. So we have to be fair in everything we're doing, regardless of whether the proposal that Dr. Shaheen mentioned was $5 million or $5. We voted on that. And this is still a subject. And that's why I made that motion. And I probably was gonna make another motion. But that's the motion I made. Because like some of us are saying, we need to spend these dollars. We all know businesses have shut down during pandemic. Why are we holding these dollars? It's like Councilman Copeland said, it's been many people coming here repeating what they've already given us. We do have subjects that we're supposed to work on, and I've looked at those, I've talked to people, I've gone to youth centers, etc. But that does not negate the fact that I yet have to vote on everything else that comes across this table, not only the subject that was appointed to me. We have to do better, we have to do right, even though we all are trying, we've given our opinion, and we've given the best opinion that we have and what we can work with. Okay. But I cannot see just saying, okay, well, we're not going to do it. If that's the case, we need to bring every dollar back, and every dollar that we have allocated, and say, well, let's listen to everybody in here. Let's listen to 409 people. Thank you.
Can I just say something?
Yes, you can. You look, don't be timid. Don't be timid. Yes,
I
you
just want
can.
to say, looking from the outside coming in, we need to follow through whatever we're gonna do. You know, these people have been waiting a year and a half. I think we need to go back and maybe see what they have to offer. We can't just take new people in. I've worked with grants in the past. I have experience, I understand. Like you said, the matrix system, you look and see what they have, what their demand and what their need is, the dollar amount. So we need to be considerate of that and go back to that table and look at if that's what we need to do. Instead of all this bickering and fighting, let's get down and get these citizens their money, whatever needs to be done. Because it's not gonna resolve what we're doing back and forth here. It's not gonna work. We need to do what the citizens want and what they're looking at and what they're needing. Let's get this money moving. And that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Thank you.
Can I call the question?
Yeah, you can call the question.
Here, I know.
There's a motion on the floor, call for the question, call for the vote. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second. There's a motion on the floor, but I do call for the vote first. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Now we go back to the original motion, right, Ms. Right, Madam Clerk?
Yes, you're voting on the motion.
Now we go back to the original motion. All those in favor, can you read it again? I'm sorry.
Motion to approve $600,000 to the Melvin McDowell project.
That's what we're voting on. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Nay. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Garcia.
Nay.
Councilmember Flores.
Aye.
Councilmember Copeland.
Nay.
Councilmember Sylvia.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Nay.
Councilmember Balls.
I'm gonna say no until we get this back. No, for
Mayor
right
Pro
now.
Tem Bench.
No.
Mayor Moore.
No.
6 no and 2 yes. Motion is denied.
Okay, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So, a lot of the discussion that was off motion goes back to policy. So, as we know, council is responsible for creating policy for staff to follow. So my recommendation to council for this topic and any topic is that you establish the procedure for reviewing these, which I think is going to Councilman Copeland's discussion, and then you direct staff and our consultants to bring that items back to you. But it would be incumbent upon you to say, when you're scoring these, take into consideration number of people serviced, if it's in the city, if it's capital, whatever your parameters want to be, that's all goes to council's policy setting. So that's my recommendation for moving forward so that we can bring those back to you.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to direct the staff and guidehouse to review all of the other submitted public and mental health proposals so that they can come back with further spending recommendations at a later date.
Second.
There is a second.
Second.
Discussion.
My hand here.
Yes.
I don't know how we gonna do that, and we didn't do that with other proposals. No, that's kind of teeing me off, to be honest about it. I mean, we didn't do that with the rest of the people, and we gave them money out. Now you want to score other people that come in here. And I ain't pulling no cards out here, and y'all shouldn't be pulling none either. But what I'm saying is, how we gonna do, we gave everybody else money, ain't nobody had no matrix on nothing. Then all of a sudden, this gentleman come up here with his proposal, and all of a sudden we want a matrix. Now you think about that. You think about what we doing, y'all. I don't think it's fair.
Life ain't fair.
Councilwoman Sylvia, I see you, but let me go this
Go
end.
right ahead.
Was there questions?
And I think the bigger issue is, this is what should have been done in the first place. This is what should have been done in the first place, and we would not have had to wait and go back and forth and have citizens wait on an answer. If we would have had a matrix in the first place, if we would have told someone, you just started this business during the pandemic and you're asking for $2 million, we are not going to fund that. We didn't. We kept telling people, dream big. Keep on doing it. Keep sending these proposals with not clear communication. So at this point, because I'm going to support my man's proposal because I know the work that he's doing. But at this point, we need a system to follow by so there's no more back and forth. There's no more constant conversation with us. We have a guideline to go off of, and our answers are fully there. And honestly, that's what the community has been asking for as well, because they've been asking us, well, what do I need to do to make sure I get money? And we were not able to say exactly what it was. With the matrix, we can let people know this is exactly what we're looking at. And we all have our own ideas. From the beginning, I wanted this committee to create the matrix. We just said they were going to bring up recommendations that we did in September. So I think now we've had enough time. We need to get a final answer to our community and clearly communicate it with them. Okay. No back and forth, not rescinding anything. This is it, this is final, and this is what we're going off of. And thank you, Mr. Manager and staff, for all of the work that you all do. But I think it's also going to be better for you all, because you all aren't going to get phone calls questioning. It's going to be, no, this is our guideline, and this is exactly what we're going to abide by.
Ditto.
Any more questions? I need a motion to,
You have
Am
a
I there?
motion. You're ready for a vote.
oh, I need to call for the vote. What was the vote?
The motion is to direct the city manager and his staff to review proposals
Oh, okay,
for
I'm sorry.
recommendations of further public health allocations.
I'm sorry, you're right. There was a motion on the floor, did it get second?
Yes.
It got moved to second, we're calling for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed,
No.
roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Flores,
No.
Councilmember Copeland,
Yes.
Councilmember Sylvia.
No.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Balls,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Bench,
Yes.
Scherzer is absent, Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
We have 5 yes, 3 no, motion is approved.
Now, I need a motion.
I'd like to,
I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn
No.
until we get back some more information on the rest of the proposals for the mental health part. So we can go into regular other business.
A motion to adjourn, Mayor.
That's where I was going in the beginning. I was going, and can we take a break in between?
Support.
We need
Just-
to adjourn this meeting.
Right.
Ask for a second.
Second.
I need a second.
Thank you.
All those in favor, speak.
Question or no?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed,